Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and obviously this is not something I do on this channel at all, but this is going to be a video discussing the Season 3 finale of The Legend of Korra, primarily the last two episodes that aired back-to-back tonight, which would be Enter the Void and Venom of the Red Lotus. So if you're not caught up, this is going to be massive spoilers, and I'm just going to give my final thoughts on the series at the end, so, you know, turn it off if you haven't been caught up. So basically, just going to give you like a really quick, abridged synopsis of both episodes back-to-back, and then we'll really get into it. Because I'm assuming you've seen them, of course. So basically, the end of the last episode, the ultimatum, you know, Zaheer invades the Northern Air Temple, he captures all the airbenders, basically said, Korra, you know, turn yourself in, give, you know, or, you know, or just kill them. And Zaheer, being Zaheer, you know he's going to do it. You know, there's no, like, if there's even any hint that Korra is going to try to do anything to kind of double-cross him, you know, he will just straight-up kill him, because that's just how he rolls. That's what Korra tries to do, though, anyway. They try to set up some kind of ambush, like, you know, Lin's team and Suyin go over here, and we're going to go over there, and we're going to make it look like I'm turning myself in. But Zaheer, I guess, kind of figured this out already, so he's like, that's why you don't try to double-cross the double-crosser, because then he just, oh, well, we didn't have the airbenders here anyway. They're being held at some other location. So this just basically erupts in a massive fight scene, which takes up the bulk of the episode. During this time, Pylo, the combustion woman, dies. Suyin basically kills her. We'll get into that, you know, in the discussion. But the main point of the episode is at the very end, Zaheer reveals the ability that he can just fly now, and we're not talking. I think it's like a subsection of airbending. You know how like metal bending is a sub thing of earth bending, and how I guess also sand bending too, and even like that crystal bending shit. Same thing is with earth bending. Lightning is with fire. Apparently the suborder of airbending that we've all kind of wanted to know if there was one, there is, and that's the ability just to straight up fly. We're not talking like summoning gust of wind or using a glider, just, you know, standing on air and just flying like freaking Superman. So Zaheer can do that now, and that actually leads up to why he's like, you know, the entire season he's always, you know, sitting down there and like reciting basically his Bible verses of the air nomads and everything, and Air Guru Lahim, I think it was, and Tenzin recognizes it as an ability of airbending that has not existed for thousands of years that he can now do. So with this new ability, he basically evades Lin and Suyin, and he kidnaps Korra, and he heads off and flies away to parts unknown. And then Kai shows up and rescues rescues Bolin and Mako that were in the, and Tenzin that were in the Northern Air Temple, which Gazan basically completely obliterates using his lava bending, and that's how part one of this two-parter finale kind of ends, with everybody kind of, you know, shaken up after this damage. So part two, Venom of the Red Lotus, picks up with Korra being captured, and we find out that there's more members of the Red Lotus. It's not just Zaheer and his little cell. There's also a bunch of other random members of the Red Lotus. Now, I always kind of figured that, you know, this organization would have more than just like 5 people to it, but the people that are introduced, like, we don't have any idea when Zaheer contacted them or anything like that. And really, we don't even, you know, we just some men in cloaks and then some generic guards that are dumb as freaking doornails, like every other guard in the entire, like Avatar universe, essentially, that are fooled quite easily by everybody. We don't know where these people came from, or, you know, how long, like, how Zaheer got in contact with them, or how long they've been part of the Red Lotus. They're just generic individuals that just kind of fill out the, you know, like, oh, here are the people that are going to get, you know, taken down quite easily or whatever. So we also find out that what Zaheer's main plan is for Korra. He's basically going to poison her, induce the Avatar state, and then kill her while she's in the Avatar state, and reduce the world to chaos and send it into anarchy. That was his big plan. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it all comes down to, I want the Avatar dead. We've never heard that plot line for an Avatar season. I mean, hell, at least, I mean, give Unalaq some credit. At least Unalaq wanted to become basically an Avatar himself. He basically wanted to become the, like, just as strong as Korra, defeat Korra, and then rule over the world, of course. But at least he had a goal. I mean, the goal of Amon was basically to get rid of Korra. The goal of Ozai in the original series was to eventually get rid of Aang, the Avatar. And Zaheer's final goal is, I'm going to kill the Avatar. Because the only difference is he's doing it because he wants to return the world to its original state of anarchy and chaos. That's the only reason. All right, whatever. So, first off, as I said earlier, both of these episodes take up, the majority is a fight scene. The fight scene in Enter the Void, we have two. We have we have Mako and Bolin that are facing off against Ming-Wa, and I can never get her name right. Ming-Wa, I think it is. And then Gazan in the Northern Air Temple. And then we have Suyin and Lin fight against Po Li in the on top of this mountain ridge, while Tarlok, Korra's father, and Korra herself fight against Zaheer. Here's the thing, though. Korra is, like, handcuffed because, you know, like, she's about to turn herself into Zaheer. Zaheer handcuffs her. But here's the thing. Well, I think Po Li handcuffs her. But here's the thing. People still don't get it that she's dangerous if you handcuff her. As long as she can move her limbs even a little bit, you're kind of screwed. Like, she puts the handcuffs on Korra, and they're like handcuffs and foot cuffs, and they're like chained up. So she can't move very much. But, and she even says, like, oh, they're platinum, so don't bother metal bending them. I'm like, she can airbend, dude. That that kind of nullifies any kind of restraint you have on her. Like, if she can move her legs a little bit, then you're screwed. She can airbend up, she can make a little tornado, she can stay in the air, she can shoot fucking fire like a cannon out of her feet. She can breathe fire. So, I mean, these little shackles aren't going to hold her. I think the best way for you to do it is basically how the Earth Queen did when she brought her to Ba Sing Se. Did you see how they had her all, you know, strung up like basically Hannibal Lecter? That's how you have to contain a person that can breathe fire. But no, it's like, oh, just these shackles, you'll be good. So whatever, we get a cool fight scene with Tarlok and Korra fight against Zaheer, which basically ends with Tarlok getting like airbent off a cliff. He gets saved, but you know Korra is then completely helpless because she can barely move. And then then the thing with Po Li is Suyin and Lin fight against her, and she basically dies by the obvious way that, you know, you'd figure she would die, Combustion Woman or Sparky Boom Man, same way he went out with the big obvious fuck you spot that is taking up the majority of your forehead. It's like one little pebble is enough to stun you and make you useless indefinitely, and a slightly bigger pebble could potentially kill you. This is a very dangerous technique, is combustion bending. But, so basically, Lin distracts her, and, you know, so she, you know, gets pinned down by Po Li. She's about to, you know, point blank just, you know, nuke her. And Suyin she's wearing like an armored tunic. She just metal bends the tunic off of herself, sends it over, wraps it around Po Li's head, and then you just see this bright flash really quickly, like a flicker. And you don't even get to hear an explosion, which is weird. You just, you know, it gets wrapped around her head. You see a bright light as it, you know, discharges inside of the tunic, basically blows her head clean off, I would assume. And then you just see Zaheer like, no, she's dead. So, yeah, she died. And it's kind of sad, too, because we only get to see, like, it's obvious that Zaheer and her were an item, but that was only mentioned, like, one time when they broke her out of ice jail, and then again, right now, like, in this episode, when they kiss, and it's like, I love you too, and I'm like, oh, she's dead. They barely, like, you have to mention that periodically throughout the season to have that carry any weight. But anyway, so then we have Bolin and Mako fight against Ming-Wa and Gazan. And Gazan is like immediately awesome in whatever he does. He basically just reduces the entire Northern Air Temple to just a pile of lava. And he leaves with Ming-Wa while Bolin and Mako, along with an injured Tenzin, are inside. So their movements are kind of hindered because they have to carry Tenzin around. I think Asami was in there too. Not 100% sure. But anyway, big thing with Bolin's character is he can lava bend now. So everything's okay. And I'm looking at that, and it was, I don't know if they were trying to make, like, metal bending like a red herring for him. Like, oh, you thought Bolin was going to be a metal bender because they mentioned it so many damn times, but no, he's a lava bender. Okay, here's the thing. You got to make it make sense. You gotta make it make sense. Like, I understand, just because he's an earthbender and lava bending is like a subsection of earthbending, that's not a good enough reason why he can just lava bend now. Okay? I mean, if you would have showed anything, like even a glimmer of a foreshadowing thing, I might be okay with it, but it was never referenced. Like, I don't know, how many times has Bolin fought against Gazan, you know, or in the past season? Like, I think twice, not counting this time, so this will be 3, 4 in the next episode. But I fought him against him at least twice. If, I don't know, if we would have seen something like maybe Gazan lava bends at Bolin, and maybe like Bolin doesn't even notice it, but maybe he like subconsciously, and like we just see some of the lava like move away. Like maybe some lava is heading toward his face and he could just subconsciously bend it away, and we as the audience see it and Bolin doesn't, and he just doesn't register what happened. Maybe something like that. But just being able to like, oh shit, lava's coming, we don't know what to do, we're screwed. Oh, it's cool, we can, all right, we're good, everybody, we're cool. I mean, and it also serves in the next episode because obviously Bolin's going to be the one to fight against Gazan because that's the kind of guy he was predetermined to fight. But came out of nowhere, and I'm sure a lot of people were pissed about it. I was honestly more pissed about how Mako's fight goes in the next episode, because he fights against Ming-Wa a little bit in this one, but it's not really elaborate or anything. It's mostly just Gazan, you know, basically submerging the place in molten lava. But, so, in the next episode, though, I think I covered it. I think Kai shows up again, but I don't give a fuck about Kai. He's just like, oh, here the airbenders are over there because I saw them in a cave, you know, whatever, you know, plot exposition, gotta get you over there somehow. So yeah, they head over there to try to rescue Korra because, you know, like, Zaheer is Superman now. And once they get over there, Zaheer basically has a plan. He has her all, you know, belted and chained up in this huge cavern place, which we don't even know how long this place has been here. Apparently it's been like an area, like the Red Lotus emblems in like a huge, like on the floor. So this place has been around for a while. So, Korra's all chained up, and basically the idea is he's going to inject her with this poison, which is going to induce the Avatar state to keep her alive, which is then, they're just all going to kill her. Slight problem with this plan. You're inducing the Avatar state. Kind of a little bit of a power boost there. So, they inject her with the poison. Gazan and Ming-Wa get ready to attack her. Korra resists it for about half of the episode. She's, like, fighting like a freaking schizophrenic. Like, you know. But eventually she does go into the Avatar state. She goes ape shit. She rips the chains off. Gazan and Ming-Wa try to fight her, but, you know, she manages to avoid them a little bit. This leads into a fight outside with Zaheer. Eventually she just succumbs to the poison because I started thinking, like, yeah, Avatar state, that doesn't really protect you against poison. Your body's still poisoned. So, she fights for a little bit in the state, but after a while, she just kind of runs out of steam. The poison, you know, affects her. She drops to the ground, and Zaheer is basically just going to deliver the finishing blow, and that's when, I guess, Mako and Bolin all show up and try to save the day. So we have Mako, final battle with Ming-Wa, and then we have Bolin, final battle against Gazan. Now, let me talk about Mako's really quick. Mako, upon watching this final battle with him and Ming-Wa, made me realize that Mako has had absolutely no character development this entire season. It's like the writers just gave up on trying to figure out something for him to do. Because it's honestly kind of sad. Like, for the first season, we had the whole thing was like, oh, he has a crush on Korra. And then at the end of that season, you know, they started dating. Beginning of the next season, they broke up. And then he has to deal with, like, oh, I'm getting back together with Asami. In this season, the whole Mako thing is like every time he's on screen without Korra there, it's like nothing is really, you know, focusing on him. When Korra and him are on screen, it's just the most awkward, you know, like, are we dating? Are we not dating sort of thing. It's kind of like you date your girlfriend for like 6 months, but then you break up, but then she's still like, you still hang around her like all the time. It's weird. It's just, you know, he doesn't know how to feel, and we don't know how to feel. Basically, that's Mako for this season. And we get the scene with Mako meeting his, you know, his family with Bolin, of course, and the origin of his scarf. But that's just kind of like minor trivia for the character. That's not real character development there. In fact, we get to see the scarf in this episode. We got back to like just this random scene where Bolin's on the airship. I'm like, I don't even have Pabu to help me to help me get through this, and this is going to be a tough battle. Then we just cut back to Zalfu just randomly, where we see Naga and Pabu fighting over Mako's scarf, and it's just something random, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, Mako fights against Ming-Wa, and you know how he finishes her off? You know how he kills her? Well, I mean, he basically kills her. We don't see any of them at the end like being captured. The only one that gets captured is Zaheer. He kills her by using lightning bends. That's now. Let me ask you a simple question. You might be thinking like, oh yeah, she's a waterbender, so lightning would be the obvious thing to use against her. And I'm thinking, yeah, except once again, he's fought against her at least twice. I'm like, how do you not get that? And Mako, we know he can lightning bend. Like, this is not something he just figured out how to do this season. Way back in season 1, when he was working at, like, the Republic City power plant or whatever, he was lightning bending, like, a turbine or a generator or whatever. He can lightning bend whenever he wants, as in you can shoot electricity out of your hands. That might be kind of insanely useful when fighting a waterbender, which lightning tends to conduct pretty damn good in. Especially with Ming-Wa, because she has no arms. She has to keep her, you know, water, like octopus tentacles constantly out how to fight. One lightning bolt to that thing, you're freaking fried. I think the writers even noticed this, and they're like, well, like, Mako never lightning bends. Have you ever noticed that? Like, one of the main huge points of Azula's character in the first, in the original Avatar series was the fact she was so dangerous because she could summon lightning whenever she wants. That's what made her so damn powerful. And feared is that she could do that. And like, no other firebender aside from Ozai and Iroh could do that except for her. And Mako's capable of this whenever he wants, and he never uses it. It's like when you're fighting a waterbender, and your only two options are using fire or lightning, it's like Mako constantly just keeps, maybe this will work this time. And it's like he has to wait until they're basically fighting, and they end up in this like underwater cavern thing where Mako is literally, it's dark as shit down there. He's like up to his waist in water, and freaking Ming-Wa turns into like the bride of Slender Man. She has like a dozen of her arms coming out of her, and she just like it's honestly kind of scary, like coming at him in the dark, just like trying to shred this guy. Mako just gets up on a rock and is like, oh, I hope this works, and then she dies, and that's it. And I'm like, I'm just like, whatever, Mako, whatever. You could have done that 3 other times beforehand, but whatever. It's great. She's dead. You win. Good job, buddy. Good job. Bolin versus Gazan. He does use lava bending, but he doesn't kill him with it. And I'm so happy for this because, yeah, he knows lava bending, but obviously Gazan knows it way more than him. He's been around the block a couple of times. He knows how all the chips and all the tricks of the trade, how to use lava bending. Bolin just learned how to use it. So he's like on even footing with Gazan for the most part, which I even think that's kind of a stretch. But hey, you have to figure out how to beat him somehow because it's the season finale. That's like a Legend of Korra tradition. You know, the villains are badass for 95% of the freaking season, but on the last episode, we have to finally figure out a way to, you know, beat them. Oh, we don't have one? We'll just give a character a random ability. You know, like with Unalaq. It's like, oh, I'm the Dark Avatar. Well, there's nothing we can do to stop him. Oh, wait, I can turn giant. Okay, whatever. But, yeah, anyway, so Bolin and Gazan are pretty much evenly matched, but then after Mako finishes his fight with Ming-Wa and he comes over, Gazan basically realizes he can't defeat both of them at the same time, so he basically just he basically goes out like a boss, and he just lets out this big Vegeta yell, like, I'm not going back to prison! And he just, like, summons, like, boom, like Vegeta's, like, self-destruct Big Bang, basically, and just, like, summons, like, an entire lava, like, area. Like, they're fighting in this temple sort of thing, like, in this cavern, and he just makes the entire thing lava, and he's like, I'm taking you with me, and he falls to his death, and he dies, presumably, and, of course, Mako and Bolin get out, but that's how Gazan goes out. And, I mean, hey, I don't like the fact that he committed suicide, essentially, but I like it. It's a better alternative than being defeated by Bolin, who just learned how to use lava bending, like, literally less than, like, a couple hours ago. I love how in Enter the Void, they fight, and then this episode, which takes place, like, hours after the events of Enter the Void, they meet again, and Gazan's like, last time we fought, it was blah, 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 and Bolin's like, well, I've learned some new tricks since then. It's literally been, like, 6 hours since they've last fought. So, you know, whatever. And then at the end of the episode, though, they capture Zaheer, you know, like everyone, all of his little clique is defeated, the airbenders get out, and how they defeat Zaheer is Janora's like, well, you know, he might be able to fly, and he might have ancient airbending magic power, but we're all airbenders here, and there hasn't been airbenders together like this for hundreds of years, so they all get together, basically make like a vacuum tornado sort of thing. Zaheer gets pulled into it, and he gets defeated, essentially. That's how it goes out. And this is the biggest thing. Zaheer was such an awesome villain. He was easily the best villain in the entire Legend of Korra series. All 3 seasons. He wins hands down. And he goes out like that. It's like, there's no real climax. It's just like, power of friendship. Everyone hold hands. Okay, we defeated him. Let's all go get out Smoothie King. And they put him back in prison, and that's basically it. But that's not the biggest jip for me. The biggest jip for me is this. Korra is still poisoned. But then Janora, who shouldn't even know this, but Janora just says, oh, the poison is metallic, so we can just bend it out of her. You know, so sure enough, Lin just goes up and just metal bends the poison out of her. Or Suyin does, I forget which. Doesn't matter. Metal bends the poison, everything's cool. I'm like, okay, first off, Janora, how did you know the poison was metallic? You weren't there when she poisoned. I mean, yeah, she has her clairvoyance thing she has, but still, it's kind of a stretch. Second off, why the fuck, Zaheer? What's wrong with you? You were smart for like the first 12 episodes, and these last 2 are the ones where you just really dropped the ball, bro. It's like you stopped caring after a while. It's like, yeah, just chain up the Avatar with, you know, some cuffs and some chains. It's not like she can breathe fire or summon air to, you know, move around or shoot fire out of any part of her body. Oh yeah, we're gonna poison you, Avatar. Oh, we could use this, I don't know, like snake venom. Snake venom would work. Just try to find a snake or some poisonous animal, get the poison out of them, put it into her. I think everything will be good after that. Well, I think everything else will solve the problem. But no, we have to use this special metallic poison because metal is something clearly that can't be bendable in this universe. Oh, wait. Yes, it can. Oh, God. So I will give it one thing. This season does end on a very starkly different tone than the first 2. You know, the first season ended with, you know, Korra defeated Amon, she learned airbending, she got her powers back, everything's copacetic. Second season, she defeats Unalaq, you know, spirit world's open, you know, everything's, you know, changed for all the whole world. This one ends with, on a dark tone, you know, Korra is in a freaking wheelchair looking like she's, like basically about to die in the last scene, you know, bags under her eyes. She looks awful. And it ends with a starkly different thing. It ends with not even focusing on Korra, really. It ends more focusing on Jinora, which they're really trying to sell us Jinora. Like, they're making Jinora out to be like this, you know, she's like basically the dude-tagonist, like the second main character right behind Korra. And I just never really felt it with Jinora. I mean, she's a cool character, but I never really felt her as like that much of a big deal. But it's revealed at the end, you know, she's the airbending master now. She has her tattoo. She shaved her head. She looks pretty much exactly like Aang. Being a girl, I don't know. I think Aang was confused for a girl a couple times. But yeah, then she like hugs her dad, and you know everything's, you know, all. It's a very like we won kind of deal, but we won, but we had a lot of losses in the process, and we're trying to just pick ourselves up after this. It's not like a pure victory thing that we had at the end of the last 2 seasons. Like, oh, we defeated the Equalist, everything's good. Oh, we defeated Unalaq, you know, spirits are free to roam the world, everything's good. This one's kind of like, yeah, but there's still some stuff to worry about. Apparently, there's Red Lotus members that are still out there in the world, and, you know, that's a good way to end it, but, you know, it's like this would have worked so well as a cliffhanger. It would have worked so well for Zaheer and his little clique. Maybe some of them could have died, but it would work so well for Zaheer to maybe have come out a little bit of ahead. All the shit he pulled this season, everything he did, and this is how he goes out. If it ended on a cliffhanger with, you know, Zaheer still being around, still loose in the world, and then picking that up next season, that would have been perfect. And maybe next season we could have had the epic defeat of, like, the downfall of Zaheer. I got so many Aizen vibes from watching this, from Bleach, because, you know, the same thing with Aizen. 95% of the series, he was cool, he was calculating. It's like he's got control of this shit. And then same thing with Zaheer. And the last scene, you know, he's being sealed. He's in the Earth, you know, prison thing, and he's just like, you're basically, I am the victor. I will decide how the world should be. The world should be ruled by chaos. You know, that kind of shit. Exactly, pretty much word verbatim what Aizen said when he was right before he got sealed. And it's just so contrasting what Zaheer was. And you know, and I gotta say, I was really pumped up for the Red Lotus. Like what these people are, because this little group was, because it was a question I had at the very beginning of Korra. You know how the White Lotus in Avatar was like the big mystery, like who are these guys? And we don't find out until the series finale. And at the beginning of the next season, Korra, they're basically all around, and they kind of suck. You ever notice that? White Lotus kind of sucks. And Zaheer agreed, basically. He's like, yeah, the White Lotus opened themselves up to the world. That's not what we started to be. We were supposed to be this completely different thing. So kind of like a splinter cell off of like a religion. Like, you know how Christianity has like a bunch of different offshoots? Basically, that's what the White Lotus became. And the Red Lotus is trying to steep to the path. Or vice versa, depending on how you want to look at it. But, you know, and also I'd like to say here, just for the fact that he was freaking... He seemed just intelligent to me. He seemed like a legitimately smart guy, like, up until these last 2 episodes, that knew he was doing, knew how to accomplish his goals, didn't take any shit, and basically was like Aizen, essentially. And that's, you know, except well done, for the most part. So, you know, I really like the guy. I hope he shows up again, but, you know, I don't know if they're going to do it like that. And like another season where he breaks out of prison would be kind of like drab after a while. They better not pull some shit like the main villain of the next season and like Korra has to go see Zaheer in prison to get advice or help. It's like, I need your help. That would be just a kick in the face. But yeah, just generally, I love this season. These last 2 episodes, though, it's the same thing with all Legend of Korra season finales. It's like the season's so good up until like the last episode, the last 2 episodes, where the big bad basically won. So we have to figure out a way to change the to turn the tables at the very last second. You know, that's not really a good way to do it. You know, if it's that's not a good way to end your series, where the villain like if there's a 13-episode season, the villain wins for 12 episodes, and the 13th episode, it's like, oh, he suddenly loses control, then the main character figures out some of it, like Amon, for instance. Amon, badass motherfucker, and then in the last episode, he's like, oh, I lost all my control. Korra can airbend all of a sudden. He loses, and game over. Everything resolves way too quickly in this series. You know, if you're going to have your main villain defeated at the end of the season, you should probably start setting that up, or at least setting up, you know, the main character, how they're going to defeat them. Like with Bolin. If Bolin would have set up like, oh, I can lava bend, or at least foreshadow it a little bit before he fought Gazan, then I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. You know, how he could defeat Gazan. He trained and he got better after he got defeated the first time. Not like, you know, oh, I can't beat you this time. Oh, super power up? I can beat you this time. But, you know, all in all, I love the season. It's just the last 2 episodes. I mean, the cool fight scenes, but it's like the villains just kind of gave up after a while. Zaheer just gave up, and he's like, okay, well, let's stop being smart. Let's stop being a decent villain, and let's just all be idiots now, and then set ourselves up for a defeat. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on Legend of Korra season 3. 9 out of 10 up until the last episodes. See you guys.